What up everyone, it's your boy Xmanny87 bringing you another top 10 video, and what I have for you today is my top 10 favorite action figures of 2020. Before I get into everything, if you could please leave a thumbs up like rating on the video, it'll help show your support for my channel and I greatly appreciate it. Just a friendly reminder that if one of your favorite figures don't end up on my list or at a higher spot, whatever the case may be, I ask that you please do not take it personal. My list is my list, your list is your list. There is no wrong way in doing this, so I ask that you please respect everyone's list in the comments and keep it civil. Now with that said, let's get it. Here are the top 10 that didn't make my list, and this was extremely difficult to make. 2020 was a wild year with so many great action figures from various lines. These all deserve a top 10 spot, but there's so much more I couldn't show on here to fit into frame. Just to go over every single one quickly while not going into depth with every single one, I do want to point out some that deserve some monumental recognition. For instance, the Hot Toys Gamerverse Iron Spider is gloriously beautiful. The fact that they did molded plastic for below the knees and elbows make all the difference. Game changing in my opinion. Cosmic Ghost Rider is one of my favorite figures in my collection overall. Mezco Pink Skull Chaos Club is great for street level goons. Storm Collectibles Raiden is amazing, and expect to see more Storm Collectibles in the video as well. Mezco Supreme Knight Batman PX exclusive is a fun figure, but there are two more Batmans that I loved more. Transformer Skylynx is a masterpiece. Ahsoka, I just love the character so much, and she looks great with her clone troopers that I couldn't fit here, but here's an image and they go hand in hand together on display. Deadpool, one of the best movie Legends figures ever. My second favorite movie figure next to Venom. Lastly, and more importantly, I am very big on team completions. I care about that most, so the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Black Ranger completes my MMPR team, which is the team I grew up with in the 90s and adored so much so. Very happy to complete the Lightning Collection version for that roster. Then Zeb Aurelios completes my Star Wars Rebels team, which was the stable I was most eager to complete in my Black Series collection. I loved Rebels way more than Clone Wars and thought that was the better and stronger show with consistent storytelling in my opinion, as there were too many one-offs or two in Clone Wars that were not even important at all. And this is coming from a huge Clone Wars fan. If Zeb had better range on the torso and head, he would have made my top 10, no doubt. But now let's move on to my honorable mentions. My 5 honorable mentions in no particular order goes to G.I. Joe Classified Series Baroness with the Cobra coil. I know the Target Cobra Island was a fiasco, but putting that aside and focusing on the figure only, I loved photographing this figure so much. It made me try some new shots I haven't before with a vehicle. I still think that Cobra coil is an awesome vehicle, but looks better with the red ninjas on it. She was just a ton of fun with a ton of accessories. Only gripe for me was the lack of elbow range. Still a gorgeous figure. Next is the Transformers Earthrise Optimus Prime, and wow. I can just keep transforming him back and forth to the point where I can do it with my eyes closed. No matter how many times I do it, I never get bored. My favorite Optimus Prime since the Masterpiece one. Then we have movie Venom, which I think is the greatest Marvel Legends movie figure ever made. If I were more attached to the movie, then maybe he would have ended up in my top 10. Movie wasn't that bad, but it wasn't that good either. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. It was mediocre at best. Still, it's one of 2020's best figures. Then we have the Storm Collectibles second version of a classic Scorpion, which was one of the sickest figures they've put out. Fighting games are my jam, and Mortal Kombat is my favorite genre of that category, with Scorpion being my favorite of that franchise. The torso is a little funky looking, but this might be better than their first Scorpion figure. The accessories are top notch with a bunch of hands, flame effects, steel chain, and a flaming skull head. A great posable figure with endless amount of fun. Then lastly, the MEDICON Toys Mafex The Dark Knight Returns Batman. One of my favorite story arcs in Batman's lore, and Mafex did this Batman better than any other company I've seen make their take on this. The wired cape works wonderfully along with the articulation and sculpt. Just not enough accessories for me to have the fun I was looking for. There will be 2 higher honorable mentions that will be featured during my top 10, so stay tuned for that. But for my top 10, I really wanted to go with what I was personally attached to the most. Obviously, how awesome the figure is too, but I also wanted a variety of other figures to shine from other lines, which I absolutely loved and didn't get a chance to review. I tried to stick to one from each line, but that was very hard to stick with, so you might see a few multiples. But overall, every single one you'll see on display, I have a strong personal attachment to. Without further ado, here are my top 10 favorite, keywords, my favorite action figures of 2020. Kicking things off and coming in at number 10 is the Hasbro Power Rangers Lightning Collection Hasbro PulseCon exclusive Lord Drakkon Evo 3. Growing up in the 90s, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers were my Power Rangers, and Tommy Oliver was my favorite of all. This version is an older version of Tommy Oliver, who is a tyrant that hails from an alternate reality where he's an oppressive ruler alongside his army of Ranger sentries of a corrupt, techno-advanced dystopian Angel Grove during the Shattered Grid event of the MMPR comic series by Boom Studios. I'll take an evil overlord version of Tommy any day, as I really liked him since he debuted originally as an evil Green Ranger in the MMPR TV series. The presentation of the box is stunning. This figure is incredible with an amazing sculpt on the helmet and armored parts. Great accessories. The Saba sword is cleaner than the one that came with the White Ranger. The evil Tommy head is okay, but not that great. Amazing articulation as the Lightning Collection always delivers, but the highlight for me is this rock base with the huge green lightning effect and the damaged MMPR Ranger heads. Wish they came with the blue and black one too, but you can swap these heads and put them on the Ranger figures if you wish to do so. This calls to me as a photographer, and I'll definitely put this to use. Big thanks to my boy Jay Halen 007 for gifting me the Rise of Drakkon trade paperback for a Christmas gift, as now I'm super invested into this version of the character, my favorite Lightning Collection figure of 2020. Coming in at number 9, we have the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Hasbro Pulse exclusive Deluxe Cad Bane with Todo 360. As I mentioned before, I'm a big Clone Wars fan, and when this bounty hunter made his first appearance on the show, he automatically made one hell of an impression that solidified him as one of my favorite Star Wars characters. A total badass character that is now a total badass figure. The articulation is solid, the face sculpt is great, he's very well layered out with his duster, satchel, holsters, and the amazing wash bringing those sculpted details to life are one of the best that Black Series has to offer. Accessories are really good with 2 blasters for some gun-tootin' fun, his signature hat, and this deluxe version comes with his trusty techno service droid Todo 360, who is surprisingly well articulate and also well painted. Love when figures come packed in with an extra character to bolster the collection. Overall, one of the best figures sculpted to stick truest to the character's aesthetic. Coming in at number 8 is the NECA Toys Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 80s cartoon series, Casey Jones. Casey Jones is my favorite TMNT character, and all I ever wanted was an 80s cartoon accurate figure of him made. NECA granted my wish and delivered this glorious masterpiece. He does come in a 2-pack with a slashed up Foot Clan soldier in which he has a bendable wire in the torso that's very impressive. But the Foot Clan soldier does not share this number 8 slot as it's only for Casey Jones. I would never put 2 figures in one slot, as that's a cop-out and totally defeats the purpose of a top 10 in my opinion. Just showing you the figure he's packed in with here. Anyways, Casey is loaded with accessories including a duffel bag that can store his bat, signature hockey stick, and more. Tons of interchangeable hands. His feet look like he has one of those ridiculous clown shoes on. Think they could have toned it down a bit, but hey, it's pretty cartoon accurate and I'm fine with that. The sculpt, paint, articulation, and everything about this figure is elite status. NECA did this character justice here. A wish come true for sure. Coming in at lucky number 7, we have the Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series Target exclusive Cobra Island Cobra Trooper. I know what you're thinking, the Target G.I. Joe distribution was a shit show, and it was, but I have to put that aside and just focus on the figure only. The Cobra Troopers, as they dubbed it, which are really called Cobra Officers, and that's what I'm going to refer them as throughout this video, were everything I ever imagined for a 6-inch G.I. Joe army builder. Tons of accessories and swappable parts to give them a variety of looks. The articulation on the line is stellar, and so are these. I had some of the best time photographing these figures as they are just loads of fun. I really like the colors as they match well with Cobra Commander, and the designs on these look so badass. Even if you're not a G.I. Joe fan, these are great to serve as mercenaries for any of your 6-inch collection. Luckily, Hasbro are re-releasing these under a different paint deco and a few less accessories labeled as Cobra Infantry this time instead of Troopers. So if you did miss out on them, at least you're able to get another chance at getting some Cobra Officers that are still available for pre-order now. I highly recommend you get one of them. My favorite army builder of 2020. Coming in at number 6, we have the MEDICON Toys Mafex Batman Hush. so one of my dream figures was to own a 6-inch highly articulated Jim Lee Batman Hush with opposable cape and this kind of look and physique. Batman Hush is my favorite Batman storyline alongside the Under the Red Hood story. And the closest thing I got to this was probably the DC Icons Batman by DC Collectibles, but was a little too small for my liking. This one by far was what I always wanted in a Batman figure. I know some people had issues with the cape, but I didn't. The cape is on the large side, but it's great to capture many of those awesome exaggerated looks of his cape in action, especially how he looked in the Hush comic. The accessories make this figure a lot of fun with multiple hands, grappling hook in action, batarangs, 2 masked expressions, and a stellar Bruce Wayne head, which in my opinion is the best looking comic style Bruce Wayne head I've ever seen in action figure form. I know some like the Dark Knight Returns version more, and that's cool. You like what you like, but for me, that lacked accessories where this one doesn't. Accessories makes all the difference to me, and it gave this figure that fun factor I was looking for and needed. The articulation and Jim Lee stylized sculpting for me is not just a home run, but a grand slam. Now for my mid-credit honorable mention, it goes to the McFarlane Toys Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn. I've been waiting forever for a highly articulated Spawn for this scale since the 10th anniversary one back in 2003 or so. The sculpt is absolutely fantastic, but it lacked accessories, only coming with this one sword. I know there were 2 other weapons released individually, like the Target exclusive axe and another release with a mace, but I wasn't going to spend $50 more for 2 extra weapons and the same Spawn figure. That's just ridiculous. Wish they were packed in all together. Extra hands would have been nice too. I have a huge personal attachment to Mortal Kombat, and MK11 was my favorite game of 2019. His combo strings and movesets in the game are amazing, man. They gave him everything in that game. Definitely became my main as he's the best player in the game. And also along with that, I have a huge personal attachment to Spawn growing up in the 90s and had quite a few figures when that line first launched. But when I was at the McFarlane booth at New York Toy Fair and was shown the Spawn Remastered Edition, I said to myself, yep, that's the Spawn I always wanted and needed. The classic comic style, multiple accessories, and the retro packaging made me jump on the Kickstarter right away. So this figure would have made my top 10, but after that reveal, it definitely knocked this one off my list. This is still a good fill-in while I wait for that one, hoping that Spawn meets and or exceeds my expectations when I get it in hand to judge. Anyways, this figure was a lot of fun for me to photograph, even though I had to use accessories from other lines to enhance the play value for me, but gotta know how to have fun with your figures, so still a fun, dope, exciting figure worthy of a top 10 slot and deserves an honorable mention here. Coming in at number 5 is the Storm Collectibles Injustice 2 Lord Darkseid. As I said before, fighting games are my jam, and the Injustice franchise is made by the same studio that made Mortal Kombat, which is NetherRealm Studios. When they first introduced the Injustice franchise that was going to borrow the same engine and formula used in the MK games into these new DC fighting games, then I was ready to bring my game face on. Darkseid only had a cameo in the first Injustice game, but was playable as a DLC character in the sequel. He was one of my mains with pure brute power and surprising speed when used right. This figure feels just like that. Pure brute power, and the articulation for this guy can be posed in ways that'll make him look agile in a fighting game. Storm likes to use this pliable rubber in the torso area that gives their figures a lot of range no matter the size. Highly detailed sculpt and paint. Only gripe is that I feel he could have used more of a black wash in the cracks of his skin, but packed in with multiple hands, heads, and interchangeable eye effects, including these highly intensifying Omega Beams effect traveling a span of 8 inches is absolutely phenomenal. This beats out the DCUC BAF, DC Icons, and Mezco ones as the Darkseid that reigns supreme of all supremacy in my collection. Coming in at number 4, another one from Storm Collectibles, and it's the DC Injustice Gods Among Us, Lobo. Lobo is one of my all-time favorite DC characters. When he was announced as the first DLC for the game, I was stoked and the main man automatically became my main in the game. Seriously, I entered a few tournaments and won some money when this game came out back in 2013. I was that damn good at it. Anyways, the figure is absolutely incredible. The stature is imposing as he should be, just like in the game. Figure-wise, he's a bit smaller than Darkseid, but still pretty freaking huge. The sculpt and paint with these Storm Collectibles again are phenomenal, and this has a one-up on paint over Darkseid. Accessories don't go to waste here, with a bunch of hands, shotgun that can also store onto his holster, his iconic chained hook, multiple head expressions, which one you can put a cigar in his mouth, which is awesome, and lastly, interchangeable hairstyles. If you don't like this figure on my list, then bite me, fanboy. Storm Collectibles teased that they are coming out with Lobo's Hog Cycle vehicle. They just know what collectors want and they deliver each time. That's going to put this figure over the top even more. I highly recommend this figure. Coming in at number 3 is the Hasbro Marvel Legends Deluxe War Machine. Well, if you saw my Marvel Legends Top 10 Comic Figures of 2020 video, then it's no surprise you see this guy here. I covered basically everything I said in that video, but I can't praise this figure enough. If you're a casual Legends collector, hardcore collector, cherry picker, or never bought a Legends figure before and looking to purchase your first, then this figure is the one you should pick up no matter what your collector status is. It has everything you are looking for in a figure, from articulation to sculpt to an array of accessories to display. A purchase you'll never regret, another highly recommend and a must buy. Coming in at number 2 is the Hasbro Transformers Earthrise Scorponok. Okay, so some of you may not know this, but I freaking love Transformers. My Transformers collection is getting pretty crazy at the moment, taking up a lot of space in my living room, so for now this Scorponok is being displayed on my coffee table. I never had the original Scorponok figure when I was a kid, so to have this now in my adulthood, I truly cherish it more so. The last of the city bots needed to be made for completion, and a Titan class figure worthy of its name. This guy is a titan. As you can see, he's way too big for me to put on a rotating base. Measuring at about 22 inches, he towers over my Transformers display beautifully, and just look at how he scales next to some other Transformers. Scaling like this always blows me away. He's a triple changer, so he changes into 3 modes, with this one being his bot mode. Then we have city mode, which can be very useful as a diorama on its own. You can extend it with some add-ons that combine with figures such as Astro Train. Having your Decepticons displayed on him as you see here really makes for a nice diorama display for your collection or photography. It comes with a Lord Zarek slug figure who converts into a head on the deluxe class body to form Mega Zarek, and this headmaster transforms into the head of Scorponok. Lastly, my favorite mode of all is the Scorpion mode. The pincers is one of my favorite features, where you can have him grab multiple Autobots, as you see how he's holding Optimus here. So the articulation functions really well across all modes. The colors pop beautifully, lots of sculpted details throughout, and you truly get a high amount of play value here. I was hyped when I first saw him in person at New York Toy Fair. It was one of my top 5 most anticipated figures of 2020, and it lived up to the hype for me. And I still get hyped with each playthrough and seeing him on my Transformers display. A truly astonishing piece. And before we get into my number 1, my final honorable mention goes to the Hasbro Marvel Legends Venompool Build-A-Figure. He would definitely be on my top 10, but I wanted to stick to my rule of personal attachments only for my list. So even though he's only a video game character that really has no story to connect with, the figure is absolutely amazing, and an amazing figure is all that's needed to make a top 10. He's definitely in the top 3 best BAFs Hasbro has made for the Legends line, next to Fin Fang Foom and Sauron, in my opinion. He came out number 1 in my top 10 combined list of movie Gamerverse Legends of 2020, as I wanted to do a list of the separate mediums outside of comic Legends. There was just way too many Legends to stick to just one category throughout the year. Anyways, like I said before, if there was a Marvel Legends Hall of Fame, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer and deserves the highest honorable mention of all on my list. Coming in at the number 1 spot, we have the Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series Hasbro Post Exclusive Deluxe Edition Snake Eyes. My action figure dreamline has always been a highly articulated G.I. Joe 6-inch series of figures. I didn't mention this before during the Cobra Officers, as I didn't want to give away my number 1 while you were watching, but G.I. Joe was the first collection I was ever exposed to and started thanks to my brother, who was a hardcore G.I. Joe fan and had a plethora of Joe figures. Him passing on that knowledge of these characters and watching the 80s cartoons made me fall in love with these characters, and the comics were so badass too. The character of Snake Eyes started it all for me, and the mystery behind this ninja commando always intrigued me. There wouldn't really be an X-Men 87 without G.I. Joe, as that's what made me a collector. Fast forward to New York Toy Fair 2020, and I had the privilege to see my dream line come true as the G.I. Joe Classified Series line was revealed. I drooled over this figure, and when I finally got it in hand, it was a wrap. This deluxe edition comes with a special box and is packed in a blister card with accessories galore all over the place. Inside the blister card, you get a set of extra hands, backpack pistol with a detachable silencer, Mikimoto blade, etc, etc, a sketch art which I framed on my wall, an Arashikage base, and even more accessories coming with extra weapons that later came packed in the Red Ninja figures. But you can store those accessories on the base, which is really cool and served as a great display in my dojo diorama. Only wished he came with his wolf timber, but I'm positive we'll get one with a future Snake Eyes figure. The sculpt and paint instantly blew me away with tons of details that made my eyes travel all over the place. This paint deco is different from the retail one, as he does have some gray and brown color in his attire opposed to the retail one, which is a solid black. Lots of storage room to store multiple accessories onto the figure that enhances the play factor even more. Then we get into articulation, which really set the tone for this figure and the rest of the line. Hasbro went all out on this figure and gave him import-like articulation. Double diaphragm neck and torso on ball joints, and ab crunch atop a ball jointed waist, butterfly joints, drop down thighs, and more to capture those Ninja Commando-like poses, because the range on this guy is beyond phenomenal. This was my favorite review I've ever worked on, and I took hundreds of pics with this figure as it became the most fun I ever had photographing a figure. The fun factor to this figure is endless. It's the highest rating I ever gave a figure on a review, breaking the scale with an 11 out of 10 beyond total awesomeness. This is it. This is the one. Many of you have always asked me what was my favorite figure in my collection, and I could never be able to answer that, as there was just way too many to choose from and give a straight answer. Now, without a shadow of a doubt, I can say that not only is this Snake Eyes my favorite action figure of 2020, but also my favorite action figure in my collection. That's it. It's the best action figure I ever owned. It means that much to me. Snake Eyes just has my heart. A dream come true for X-Men 87. Alright, and now to wrap things up. Overall, despite 2020 being a difficult and challenging year, I'm so happy with the amount of greatness we got from action figures. It really helped me stay sane, and I was happy to share this hobby with you through my videos and provide you entertainment while we were stuck at home and shed some light on those dark days. Thank you for always taking the time out of your day to watch my videos whenever you can. Means a ton to me, and hopefully I can come close or hit 20k subs this year. Means a ton to me, and hopefully I can come close to or hit 20k subs this year. Now I kick it back to you guys. Let me know what's your top 10 action figures of 2020. Comment below, let me know, we'll chat about it. So that was my top 10 action figures of 2020. Please follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. Link is in the description below. Hit the notification bell so you always know when my latest videos are up. Share and subscribe if you're new. See you on the next video. Peace, peace.